Yeah. We're tired of everything being so sanitized. We just want to let our hair down and be ourselves. So I think it serves everyone, the listener as well as the podcaster, to just be authentic and not try to manage and control every detail.
I listened to something recently around from Dr. Brown again. And she said, she put it in a relationship context about being vulnerable. And I thought it was really a good way to contextualize this word. There's a lot of buzzwords that fly around, isn't there? Like authenticity, like vulnerability. And she gave this example, and she said, have you ever asked anybody, to marry you or to go out on a date, and they've turned you down? She said, that's vulnerability. When you're risking having your heart shattered because you've really put your store by that person. And that was just one example. I mean, she gave other examples of, like, a daughter was in a swimming competition and came last and cried her eyes out because, she got lapped in the pool and all this kind of thing. But she kind of actually said, but that was me really showing up properly, so to speak. And I think that's it. And for me, it is about, even on the podcast, when I show up, I'm prepared to put stuff on the table that's real life. And people say, well, you didn't share that, did you? Why? Because it's part of my world. It's part of my world. And, listen, none of us are perfect. We make mistakes. And it is that, judge me if you will, do what you want, because I'm okay with it. I'm actually okay with it. I'm not saying I'm proud of it, of X, Y, and Z, but I'm okay with it. And I've come to peace and I've forgiven myself. And that's, all this stuff really, I mean, this is a bit of a deeper answer from, towards the question, but it all plays into what's going off here with this podcast host? All this stuff comes into play.
I love that about you.
Me too. I second that.
All in favor.
Motion carried. Motion carried. So, I never anticipated this, girls. I mean, I thought as the host I'd have a nice, easy night and I'd just sit back and you guys would be doing the talking. But not the case. But
yeah. Well, it just goes to show you every single exchange is a sacred exchange. Every single one.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, kind of has been a great reminder of those wise words, Amy, a great reminder. And I've got to say, as ever, I mean, like Amy, you've said a couple of times already, I do know you two guys personally. And, this is an example of, listeners, the authenticity, to use that word again, and the vulnerability of what beautiful, beautiful souls I feel so honoured to be connected to and involved with for World Game Changers. And it's just, sometimes words don't cut it. And I'm getting to the time of this particular podcast where words are not cutting it. Listeners, you've heard me say that before a few times, so no apologies for that.
Well, thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you, as always. A pleasure.
So there we have it, listeners. A very, I've thrown a couple of in. I've stumbled on more times that I get to remember. So we've hopefully injected a bit of humour. I've been put on the spot. But you know what? It's not about me. It's not about me. As the host, isn't it true that in life that we create space for others to be present, to convey their message? And in that respect, Amy, Kimberly, utmost gratitude. And at this point, listeners, all that remains is to say, remember, mastering the game of life starts by embracing our hearts.
Thanks very much for listening to this Mastering the Game of Life podcast episode. Hopefully you found it interesting and helpful. Drop a line to paul@paul-lowe.com with any thoughts or questions you may have, and he'll be more than happy to respond. Remember, the game's ever changing. How will you master it?